والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبي وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهاديين المهديين الذين ذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم تنزيله: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون ما أريد منهم من رزق وما أريد منهم أن يطعمون إن الله هو الرزاق ذو القوة المتين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
This evening, our topic that we have chose to speak about is about the sayings of our dear Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam,
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad,
which is known as Risalatul Huquq, the rights in Islam. But before I proceed, definitely we can't talk about the whole thing tonight. I just wanted to take one part of it and discuss among ourselves tonight. And if there is a need, we can continue in the coming sessions, inshallah. But there is a short introduction that I would like to give before I proceed to the saying of our dear Imam. And that is, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created human being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made relationships between human being and different things. The first relationship that we have is the relationship between a servant and his creator. There is a relationship between us and Allah. That is the first relationship, which means there are some rights Allah has upon us in that relationship. That is number one. Number two, then there is a relationship between human beings themselves. That I relate to you as a human being and you relate to me as a human being. That is number two. Number three, there is another relationship, which is a relationship between human being and the nature. You see these trees? The nature that we see, they have right upon us too. That's why when you go to Bible Jihad, our imams, they taught us, when I go to battlefield to go and fight the enemy, I'm not allowed to cut the trees just like that. It's haram. It's the right of the tree to exist. The only time you are allowed to cut the trees if you are in need of it, or if the tree is on your way. And unless you have a good reason, otherwise it's haram to cut a tree just like that. Now I bring you here between the parentheses. Here they say you can't cut the tree in your house unless you get the permission, right? Oh, now think about it. It has to do with Islamic teachings too. Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he sent some of his companions for the battle, he told them, he said, La taqta'u shajara. Don't cut a tree just because it's a tree. No, it's haram. We can't do that. The tree has the right to live too, like you have the right to live as well. So the nature also has right upon us. That is number three. Number four is the relationship between human and animals. The animals that we see around us, they have right upon us too. Also, in the same line, I'm not allowed to go and hunt for the sake of hunting. Or I'm not allowed to go and kill animals just because it feels good. To see animals dying is haram in Islam. They have the right to live too. Now, based on this relationship that we mentioned, 1, Allah, 2, among ourselves, 3, on the nature, 4, and the animals, you see our Imam Zain al-Abidin, he based on these rights and expand on those relationships. That he divided them first by saying, Haqqullahil A'zam. The first and the most important right upon the human being in all this relationship is your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he mentioned in the first khutbah, when he talked about relationship with Allah, he said, وَمِنْ حَقِّهِ عَلَيْكَ أَلَّا تُشْرِكَ بِهِ شَيْئًا. Allah Akbar. He said, one of the rights of Allah upon us as his creatures and his servant is not to associate Allah with anything. And amazing, when you go to the Salatul Wuquf, Imam doesn't make that statement and just go. No, he goes to tell you some details in those explanations too. He tells you the rule and he goes to explain to you. And when he says that you are not allowed to associate Allah in your ibadah, then he tells you why. And he goes to tell you, he said, if you are to be put in the position of Allah, just a simple example, he said, if you buy a slave, right? You use your money, you bought the slave. You brought the slave, now the slave is put into work. He's working and earning money. But then that money goes to somebody else. How would you feel? You bought the slave. What's your money? What's your income? Now the slave came, he is working, he's bringing income, and then that income goes where? It goes to somewhere else. How would you feel? Of course, bad. Now imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought you and I into this world. And he gave you everything. And then after that, you turn and serve somebody else. How do you think Allah is going to feel? Not only that, let me give another example. We all, mashallah, most of us are married. And we know how it feels to get married, right? First of all, you go, you see a sister. Good sister you want to marry. You go and see her parents. I want to marry your daughter. Really? Good. Are you ready? Yes. How much do you have? So I don't have anything. So first you have to find a job. You find a job. Okay, I come. I find a job, mashallah. Good job, paying job. Do you have your own house? No, I live with a roommate. No. You can't marry my daughter when you are in a room with somebody else. Okay, so now I have to work extra to find a room. A house for myself. Now I find the house. So is it done? No. Did you finish the house? No. I said, you need to finish the house. Now you go back, you buy the carpet, you buy the furniture, you put everything in there. Is that done? No. I said, come here. I said, first also you have to make sure that you pay something called mahar. Allahu Akbar. How much? MashaAllah, today you know that. How much they expect from us. Now, you find that you pay that. Is that all? No, that's not done yet. I said, inshallah, we're going to fix some date, inshallah, and you need to buy some food for those who are going to come. All this on you, huh? Amen. Now, you find the money, you buy it, you pay for it. Is that? No. They say, no, Maulana is going to come and do the nikah. You have to write the check for the alim too. Okay. You write check for the alim. Is that done? No, it's not done yet. Right? There is more to come. Right? Now, after all that you go through, right? The night they bring you a wife at home, you coming home after all this exhaustion that you went through, and then you come in the house, you find another man in your house with your wife. How do you feel? Inna lillah, right? For you, but inna lillah, not for Allah. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He went through all these stages. He created you Himself. He provided the earth. And I'm giving this example to make sure that we understand. For example, Allah created the entire universe, which is your room that we mentioned. The room is like this wall. You finish the house. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes sure there is a room for you to live and everything, right? And after He gave you everything, and He says, وَأَعْطَاكُمْ كُلَّ مَا سَأَلْتُمُ. He provided you everything you ever asked Him. Then after that you came, you felt comfortable. Now you say, no, I have to worship Allah, somebody else other than Allah. How do you think Allah is going to feel? The same one. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he said, وَمِنْ حَقِّهِ مِنْ حَقِّ of Allah. One of the right of Allah is not to serve anybody other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Then he expands through that haqqullah. Then he goes about following the Prophet and the Imams, and then he goes to the ibadah. Amazing. Wallah, there is no time to go into details. Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he expanded. Salat that you perform, it has right upon you. Fasting that you fast every month or every week, they have right upon you. Not only that, the Hajj that you go, the Hajj have right upon you. Allahu Akbar. Not only that, Quran you read, it has a right upon you. Everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in this universe, they have the right upon you. That is haqqullah. Now, after you finish with haqqullah, then Imam comes to expand also. And that right, the first one, you have the right of your parents upon you as a son. And then there is also the right of the son upon your parents too. Then he expand also to go to another right. They talk about the right of the jar, the neighbor. Your neighbor, Muslim, non-Muslim, they have the right upon you. And amazing, which one of the things that today we neglect. And amazing when you go to Nahj al-Balagha, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. In Nahj al-Balagha, when you read the will of Imam Ali, you know, one of the things that he said to Imam Hassan Hussein is about the neighbors. He said, Bunayya al-Hassan wal-Hussein, Allah fil jar, take care of your neighbors. He said, ما زال يوصينا رسول الله بالجار حتى ظننا أنه سيورثهم. The Prophet talked about neighbors, to the point Imam Ali said, we thought Allah is going to make them to inherit us. You go to our Imams about the importance of neighbor. He says, ليس منا من بات شبعان وجاره جائع. Nobody as among us, our true followers, a person cannot be a true follower of Ahlul Bayt when he or she is sleeping and his stomach is filled, his family and children are all full. They eat and have good time, right? But the neighbor is hungry. Imam Ali said, that's not our Shia. And not only today, we don't even care about the food. Today, we don't even know who's our neighbor. You ask Imam Ali, who is your neighbor? Who's my neighbor that and they have the right upon me? It says, 40 bayt min 4 jihad. 40 houses in 4 directions. Every one of them, they relate to you. You have to make sure that they eat, they're healthy, they are taken care of, and if you don't, then you are not a true Shia. Allahu Akbar. That is Imam expand in terms of the jar. Then he expanded to go also deep into talk about Haqqul as-Sultan, the leader. What does he have the right upon us? Imam expand in that. Then he comes to talk about Haqqul Mamluk, the right of a slave. Allahu Akbar. A slave has a right to? Yes, they have the right upon you. If I own a slave, it doesn't mean that I can treat them any way that I was. Islam say, no, they have right upon you as you have right upon them as well. And Imam expand on those right too. Then Imam continues to talk about the right of a teacher, the right of a knowledge. The knowledge we learn from our teachers, that knowledge has the right upon you too. Allahu Akbar. Imam, after you finish with the human beings, other people around you, then he comes to yourself. He says, وَمِنْ حُقُوقِكَ عَلَى نَفْسِكَ أَنَّ نَفْسَكَ لَكَ حَقٌّ عَلَيْكَ. Yourself have the right upon yourself. Allahu Akbar. What does that mean? You say your eyes that you have, they have right upon you. What is the right of my eyes? I say, أَلَّا تَنْظُرَ بِهِمَا إِلَى مَا نَهَاكَ بِهِمَا رَبُّكَ. Don't look. The right of the eyes is that the eyes have the right that not to use them and look at the things that Allah has forbid you to do. Looking at haram is not allowed. The eyes have the right not to look at haram. Allahu Akbar. Then it comes to the ears, also they have right upon you. Then it comes to your hands, they have right upon you. Then it comes to your legs, then it comes to your stomach. Your stomach is yours, but they have the right upon you. What is the stomach right? Allahu Akbar. Not to eat haram, not to overeat. Then he comes to the tongue. Then he comes to the legs. Then he comes, every part of your body, they all in combined, they have the right upon you as a human being. Imam then goes to expand so many of them. But tonight I just wanted to talk or expand in one part of those explanations of Imam Zain al-Abidin. So that way at least we can have something to learn from our fourth Imam, Imam Zain al-Abidin, about what he says and those rights and how we can implement those rights upon us. One of those many rights that Imam mentioned is the right of spouses. Husband and wife. Husband has a right upon the wife, and the wife has a right upon the husband too. But what are those rights? And tonight is going to be sisters. So take pen and paper, sisters. This the whole night is yours. Number one, Imam Zain al-Abidin salamullah alayh, he expanded that line by starting with some of the right that Allah started in the Quran. Some of the right from the Quran, and then he expanded to go to the hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Number one, the first right that Islam gives to a woman in the marriage is that Quran calls you as a husband to consider and look at your wife as what the Quran term is called libas. Libas means what? A cloth. In Arabic, literally, libas means a cloth. Now, but Allah didn't mean with the cloth. No. What does it mean? It's an expression. That cloth in Islam, what does the clothes represent? Represent to cover your body from any defect. If I have any mark on my body, as soon as I wear clothes, you can see those marks gone. Because the clothes covers them. Now Allah wants to tell you that your wife have the right that you cover her mistakes and her defect. That is her right. And where are those men who, mashallah, when the wife does something, he becomes BBC. He becomes CNN. My wife is this, my wife is that, my wife is this, my wife is that. Imam Ali and Quran tells you. It's haram, you can't do that. The only time you are allowed to talk about your wife to someone if you are seeking the help for reconciliation for a problem you have. And that situation is okay. But just to talk about your wife bad and her mistake outside to other people is haram in Islam. You're not allowed to do that. That is one of your rights upon your husband. Libas, you have to always cover her mistakes and not to expose her. That is one of your rights. Number two, which is also from the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. It's a right as a wife, as a sister, that you live with her in the kindness. What does it mean, kindness? Let me tell you this. See, when we go to a restaurant, there are two kinds of restaurant. One restaurant, you go, you order whatever you want, they give you exactly what you order. There is another restaurant, when you go, it's called buffet, all you can eat. Right? All your choice is there. Now, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it buffet for the sisters. Which means, anything that you will do and is considered a kindness to your wife, you're required to do that. And then Quran didn't specify that. No, give her a jewelry, buy her a ring, that's it. No. It said anything that is considered a kindness to her, then it's considered wajib for you to do for her. I'll give you some example. Taking your wife for shopping is considered part of al-ma'ruf. Not only that, taking her out for movie is considered part of وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Not only that, taking her out for a walk is considered وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Not only that, right, buying her a flower, bringing home with the flower, coming home with the roses is considered وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Anything that you will do and is considered being kind to her is considered what? وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. That is one of the rights that Allah has put on the shoulder of a man towards their wives. That is number two. Number three, which is an-nafaqa, expenses. Man, it is wajib upon him to spend on his wife. Now I'm going to expand into that. What does it mean to spend on the wife? Number one, Imam mentioned two. This also it is in the Risalat al-Hukuk. Imam said, number one, al-maskan, place to stay. And place to stay, in fact, they expand there too. There's a place to stay which meets her standard. Not maybe I was born in Africa, some village there. We don't have running water. So I married her. So I said, okay, see where I came from? We don't have running, so you got to stay with me because you have to learn from me. No. You came from that, that's your problem. Right? She was not used to that. Islam said you have to provide according to her standard. If you can't, fine. If you cannot, too bad. If you have to work two jobs to take care of that, it's your responsibility. That is one. House that meets her standard. Number two, in the same line of nafaqah, to make sure that al-kiswa, clothing. And some of the fiqh also mentioned that if you buy yourself a socks, you have to buy her socks too. So when you go to Walmart, you have to look two sections. Male section, female sections. Don't go with the male pair of socks without the female sock. Because according to the Imam, he says that anytime you buy something, you should buy for your spouse too. Allahu Akbar. Al-Kiswa, clothing. And also the same thing, like the first one, it has to meet her standard. Which means, if she comes from the family where she doesn't go into the cheapest store, she goes to the expensive one, Islam says you have to meet that conditions too. You can't say that, no, since I can't afford it, too bad. Work 3 jobs, 4 jobs, 15 jobs, that is your problem. You have to maintain that standard. Yes, if she said that, no, I forgive you, you buy me whatever you can, that's okay. But a right as a woman is to maintain the standard that she was born and raised. You have to maintain that standard. In terms of al-kiswa, clothing. Number 3, in the same al-nafaqah, expenses, is that you also have to make sure she is fed and given food what she used to eat. That is one of her rights that Islam has given to a woman. That is why, mashallah, today I really encourage that all the people, all the youngsters that are planning to get married, we need to get this type of counseling first. Because one of the reasons why I believe that this is a good thought to talk about this kind of right, because a lot of divorces that we have today, and you know, the rate of the divorce among the Muslims in America is almost 65%. Just among the Muslims, 65% of the marriages that happen among the Muslims end to divorces. And some of them is because we don't know our rights. Some of them, our sisters, they think that's their right. A brother thinks, no, it's my right. Why? Because my dad used to treat my mom that way. So I expect her to treat me the same way. Or the other way around. Because we are lacking to understand what is my right as a husband and what is her right as a woman, as a wife. That's why I believe this is very important. So part of the right of a woman is that one have to spend on her in terms of the food. And let me take you even further. Do you know that in Islam, even after you divorce a wife, right? When she was in iddatul at-talaq, it's called iddah, and that waiting period, which is 3 months, she's still entitled of everything that you used to do for her. Unfortunately, today some of people, as soon as they say the talaq, they say, okay, inshallah, khuda hafiz, you can leave. No, you can't leave. You have to stay in that house. You have to stay under the same roof. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Surah Al-Talaq, He said, Askinuhunna min haythu sakantum min wujidikum. The same place you live, you have to stay in the same house, under the same roof, until that 3 months is over. And she is entitled for every expenses. The same way that you used to do, nothing should change. Just because I divorce her, now I'm going to reduce her money, or I'm going to reduce the treatment. No, it has to stay the way it is. That is one of your rights. That is number 3. Number 4, which is one of the biggest problems. A lot of us, we believe cooking is the wajib of women. Too bad. I think it's a bad news for some of us.
Really bad.
A woman to go to the kitchen and cook is not her responsibility. Islam didn't put that as a wajib upon a woman. Yes, it's mustahab if a woman, she wants to do this out of her kindness. Islam said, Alhamdulillah, Barakallah, she has a lot of thawab, but a man cannot force her, his wife, to cook for him. No. You come home, no food, there is a restaurant right there. You come home, there is no food, too bad. You want to get angry? Too bad.
Pizza.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say because you marry her, she is your cook. No. Yes, some of the Maraja, they said, this is in fiqh, they said that they made it what you call Sharat al-Dhimni. Sharat al-Dhimni means, in fact, in certain societies where those things are considered part of the requirement. If it's considered, then they say, some Maraja, they say, then yes, a woman should do that. But Islam as a religion never put cooking as a responsibility of a woman. No. That is one of the rights of a woman. Another one, Islam has given to a woman. Al-Mahar is a right. Mahar, dowry. And dowry, Allah has made it open for her. Anything she want to ask, as long as it's not haram, it's a right. But here, let me say, brothers, today, unfortunately, and this is one of the diseases that is coming to Muslims today, that are started among some of the communities, that today some men, after they pay the dowry, then they turn and ask the wife, the bride family, that you need to give me some money too. Allahu Akbar. Where did that come from? That is absolutely not Islamic. We don't have anything. This is some of the cultures that come from the outside Islam, and now we're bringing it back to Islam. And this has caused a lot of divorces among the communities, sometimes in our own community. A husband, after he paid the dowry, he turned and tells the woman, now you have to pay me bride money. Bride money for what? Ma anzalallahu biha min sultan. There is nowhere in the Quran where Allah said a man has the right to ask a woman to pay him some money or to finish the house. These are some cultures that we bring in Islam, and it has nothing to do with Islam. What Islam said is a man supposed to pay a dowry to a woman. That's it. If the woman wants to give up that dowry, it's her right. If she wants to help out, that is her right. But to go and turn and ask for the woman family to give you something, otherwise you're not going to proceed with the marriage, that is un-Islamic. If you want to put it, that is called jahiliyyah. That is the ignorance that is coming to Islam, but it's not part of Islam. But the dowry Islam has given is the woman's right that she can demand anything that she wants. She wants a house, alhamdulillah. She wants Hajj, alhamdulillah. She wants a car, she wants all of them. Hajj, car, house, clothes, money, gold, diamond, everything. Islam says, go ahead. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given her this right that Allah has written in His Quran. And that is one of the rights of a woman. Not only that, now this is from Imam Zayn al-Abidin. He said one of the rights that Allah has given to a woman is what we call haqqul ikhtiyar. The right to choose a spouse. Who do I want to be with? Who I don't want to be with? It's your right. Nobody has the right to force her. Yes, the parents can suggest, the parents can also have the influence on what to choose and what not to choose. But at the end of the day, Allah has given the right to the woman to decide. That is also one of her rights. One of the rights of a woman is called faskhun nikah as well. To dissolve the marriage. You know, dissolving marriage is two kinds. One is called at-talaq. That talaq is the right of a husband. Now, but we have al-fasakh. Al-fasakh is different than the talaq. Al-fasakh, it means when the marriage dissolves automatically. And one of the causes of that is if a man hides something serious, something important he's supposed to share with the wife before the marriage and fails to do so. If the woman finds out after that, she has the right to divorce him. To dissolve the marriage automatically. That's it. No talaq, nothing. That's it. It's gone. Example, if the man has a mental problem but never told the woman before the marriage, right? And she came to find out later after the marriage, she has the right. If she wants to stay in that marriage or she wants to walk away. If she decides to walk away, Islam says it's your right. She can dissolve the marriage and walk away, that's it. Nobody can force her to stay in that marriage. That is called Haqqul Fasakh. She has that right. And Islam has given her that right. Another one, which is one of her right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a woman the right that any money she earns is hers. But any money you earn is for both of you. It doesn't matter how much she earns. If she earns millions of dollars, Islam says if you make less than what she makes, Islam says her money is hers. Can I force her to bring her money so we can pay the bills? No. It's her right that Islam has said whatever she makes is her right. It's hers. How she wants to spend it is her right. But whatever you make as a man is for you and her as well. And even in the fiqh, they say if you fail to spend on her, right, according to according to her right, she even has the right to take your money without your permission. If she knows your password, right? She has access to your bank account, mashallah. She can get into that, move their money to her account, and alhamdulillah, you have no right to say anything. These are maraja in the fiqh. Yes, she's not allowed to take more than what she needs though. She's supposed to take what her needs are. What the needs can cover, she can take that much, and nobody has the right to ask her why. Because it's your right in Islam. But any amount you make is for both, but her money is hers. That is one of her rights in Islam. Another right in Islam for a woman, which is amazing. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her with a son or a daughter or a child, she can charge you and I for breastfeeding. Every day, $200. Yes, contract you need to sign. Inshallah, every day is $200 for every breastfeed. No, she's your son. He's your son. Yes, he is my son. Yes. It's our sons. Yes, it is. Yes, but Allah says, I can charge you any amount I want and take that money. Allahu Akbar. See, wallahi, brothers and sisters, I haven't seen any religion that has given a woman a right and respect and dignity like Islam. There's no religion, even those people who consider, mashallah, they give freedom to a woman and so on and so forth. If they come to Islam and they see how much Islam has given those rights to a woman, they will be shocked to understand how much Islam has dignified a woman more than they ever imagine. Now, who in the world can imagine a woman can charge her husband for breastfeeding? Any law that you go in the world today and you tell the man, or you tell anybody, my wife is charging me for breastfeeding. They say, are you serious? Yes, I'm serious. Islam says that. Even though it's her son, it's her daughter, but she has the right to do so. And Islam has given her that right. And that is one of her rights. Another right that Allah or Islam has given to a woman is al-amin, protection. A woman supposed to be protected by a man. It's not just, no, I gave her food and that's it. No, you're supposed to make sure that also she is protected. Which means, if I want to find a place for her, I need to find a place where she will be safe if I'm not there. A place she will feel comfortable. A place she will feel safe. She will not feel threatened. That is part of a man's responsibility. It doesn't matter if that's going to cost me more money, I have to do so. Because that is part of your right to feel safe and to feel secure. That is part of your responsibility. That's part of the husband's responsibility. Another one. Part of the responsibility, which all this from Imam Zayn al-Abidin and Risalat al-Huquq, as he is trying to tell the right of a woman on her husband, is one of the responsibility of a man towards his wife is to make sure that he does not oppress her. Unfortunately, this is what is happening today. In a lot of our marriages, there's oppression. It's the right that you should not oppress her. Allahu Akbar. Today you see a lot of us, and one of the big problems we have as part of the right that we're missing, that some people, one of the things they do is to leave a woman, what we call, according to the Quran term, al-mu'allaqa. You leave a woman hanging. They don't live with her as a husband and wife, and they don't divorce her so she can move on with her life. Some of them, no, they even wouldn't, not only they wouldn't spend on her, they wouldn't take care of her, they wouldn't divorce her, and they wouldn't give her permission to anybody to divorce her on his behalf. He said, I want to punish her. I want to punish her. But as for him, he can go and do whatever he wants, right? But poor sister, she has to stay in one place. Not she is a married woman, to live as a woman or as a married woman, and now she is divorced. And Quran says, وَلَا تَذَرُوهَا كَالْمُعَلَّقَةِ. Do not leave a woman as a hanging. Hanging is the term that she's hanging. She's not all the way up and she's not down. It's haram in Islam. Either you have to live with her, and Quran says, أمسكوهن بمعروف أو فارقوهن بمعروف. It's either you live with them a kindness, or you let them go in the kindness as well. But not to keep them in the middle. Not with you and not with somebody else. That is one of the haram that Imam Zayn al-Abidin mentioned. It says, Adamul Adiyya, not to hurt a woman. And here some of the Mufassirin of the Risala, they say Adiyya is two kinds. One adiyya, there's an adiyya al-qalbiyya wal adiyya al-badaniyya. It says sometimes you can hurt somebody's feelings and sometimes you can hurt somebody physically. Imam say all of these two is haram. You're not allowed to do that. If a woman does something wrong, Quran mentioned how to solve those problems. One of them is counseling. Talk to them. وَاللَّاتِي تَخَافُونَ نُشُوزَهُنَّ فَعِذُوهُنَّ. Speak to them. Counsel them. Talk to them, bring to their attention. That is one of the ways to solve it, but not to hurt them in one way or another. That is one of those Islamic rights that Islam has given to a woman. Another one. One of the rights that Islam has given to a woman is that she has the right to choose whether she wants to work or not to work. Today some people, mashallah, because she has a high degree, so she has to work. No, she doesn't have to. Even if she has a highest degree, she can work somewhere and make more money than the husband so that you can live comfortable. She doesn't have to do that. If she wants to, alhamdulillah, that is her choice. But if she doesn't want to work, her right is to stay at home. Even if the husband has to work 3 or 4 jobs to maintain and take care of the family, that is his responsibility. But she doesn't have to work. Today there is a cases that you see a lot of brothers, they put the pressure on the sister. Because she has to, he thinks that she has to work. Because yes, if she feels that my husband cannot make it alone, he needs help. So let me help him so that the family can have better life. That is her kindness. But as a husband, can I force her to work so we can earn more money and live comfortable? Islam says no, you don't have to. She doesn't have to. And even if you force her, she doesn't have to listen. I force her, I said, no, you have to. No, I don't have to. You can do whatever you want to, but I don't want to walk. She doesn't have to listen to you. That is one of her rights. Another right that Islam has given to a sister is cleaning in the house. Is that a part of the responsibility of the woman? The answer is no. I come home, the house is a mess. I can walk inside the house and the house is not clean as I want. So what should I do? Should I scream? Should I? No, Islam says that is not her right. That is not her responsibility to clean, to keep the house clean. You want the house clean? You can find somebody made to walk in and clean your house. That is not Islamic responsibility. Not only that, so many of those responsibilities Islam has given to a woman, and right that Islam has given to Imam Zayn al-Abidin and talks about them so many. But one of the things that Imam Zayn al-Abidin has made it clear for us, that all this right that Islam has given to a woman and the freedom that Islam has given to a woman, Islam says the life can be better if you work as a team between the two of you. Which means, if a woman chose to do something in the house, a husband should be there to help as well. Like Imam Ali alayhi salam and Zahra alayhi salam. It is Zahra alayhi salam. She was the one who cooks for Imam Ali alayhi salam. But you know what Imam Ali does? Imam Ali comes in that kitchen to help her and make sure that every help she needs is given. Not only that, even Rasulullah, when he comes to visit them, he comes and he sees Imam Ali is in the kitchen. Ibn Zahra is in the kitchen. Then the Prophet will ask, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Man usa'id? Who should I help? You or Zahra? Then Imam Ali says, Ya Rasulullah, Zahra bil musa'adati ahwaj. She needs more help than me. Then Rasulullah goes and help her, Zahra alayhi salam. You know what that means? That means that the marriage life is about what? About helping each other. It's not about, no, I have to look at my wife that she has to do A, B, C, D. If she doesn't do this, then I'm going to go against her. Or my husband have to do A, B, C, and if he doesn't do, I have to go against him. No. The marriage life is about what? About helping each other and making it together as the journey takes you together to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Marriage is what? It's a journey together that you and I, we want to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know I can't get there alone and she cannot get there alone. So for us to get to that destination, we need to help each other to get to that goal that we're all working for. And that is what Imam Ali alayhi salam said to the Prophet a day after their marriage. When the Prophet came to visit them, he said, Ya Ali, kayfa wajadta Zahra? Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, wajadtuha khayra mu'ina ala ta'atillah. I found her the most helping person to serve Allah. The goal is Allah between the husband and wife. And then the Prophet goes to Zahra alayhi salam. He asked her the same question. Ya Zahra, kayfa wajadta aliyan? And she said, Ya Rasulallah, wajadtuhu khayra mu'inin ala ta'atillah. These are how we can work together as a team to achieve those goals, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to achieve those goals that we're all looking for, inshallah. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Alhamdulillah for such a blessing. I would like to tell the brothers, don't blame me. I didn't invite him tonight. I'm glad that my wife is at the she's here. But don't worry about that, inshallah ta'ala. Next time, we're going to ask him to come to say the right of the wife for the same from the same, actually the Salat al-Ruba, inshallah ta'ala, towards the husband. Finally, of course, it's the same thing as Alhamdulillah that Allah has made us for each other. And that beautiful part of the marriage life is that I become us and me become we, and no doubt we and us become him. So that means total love and respect on the earth. So with that, the young brothers, don't give up. Inshallah, next week is going to be a little bit better. Oh, there is a question. If there is anybody want to add something or do something.
More questions. Who has the most right to ask
Question.
Again, singles first.
Okay.
You said at the beginning that your body has various rights upon you. What right does your mind have upon you?
Good question. The question is, we mentioned that from Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, that every part of your body has a right upon you. Now, one of the question is, what is the right of your mind upon yourself? Number one of the right of the mind upon yourself is not to think about what will lead you to go and commit sin. Anytime that I want to think, it should be on something that is haram. As soon as my mind starts to go to haram, I have to say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and drive my mind towards obedience of Allah. That is number one. Number two, one of the rights of the mind upon yourself is to think about how to serve Allah in the better way every time. That is number two. Number three, one of the rights of the mind is to always think about how to serve other people. Meaning, to use your mind, one answer is to always use the mind in the right way that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and deprive it from anything that will disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the right of your mind upon you. And then another one also, this is along with one of them also, to share the mind with anybody who needs it. If I know something somebody doesn't know, I need to share my mind with them too. That is one of them. Yes. Yes.
Sure, I was listening to Hijjatul Islam Panahiyan. He is very famous, giving advice to young couples, who are getting married. He mentioned his own experience with Ayatollah Bahjat when Bahjat was reciting nikah between Panahiyan and his wife.
Right.
So they asked, do you have any advice for us? And he said, I'll give you advice separately from, so the advice that I give to husband, wife should not listen, and the advice that I give to wife, husband should not listen. And they asked him, why do you say that? And he said that, what happens sometimes, we know more about others' responsibility than ourselves. So if you only concentrate on what we are supposed to do and leave others, to worry about their own responsibilities, it would be a better sort of a, solution to the problem. What do you say about that?
Yes, sometimes I think it's a good idea, but sometimes it's a good idea to learn about other responsibilities so you can teach them. If they don't know their responsibility, then you need to teach them. But the thing is, sometimes, yes, we always would like to look at the other's fault and forget ourselves. Look at the others, they didn't do their responsibility, and forgetting ourselves if whether we did ours or not. But you know what the Quran says? It says you take care of yourself and leave others for themselves. تلك أمة قد خلت ما كسبت وتلك أمة لها ما كسبت ولكم ما كسبتم ولا تسألون عما كانوا يعملون. Allah's going to tell those nations who pass, they have their responsibilities. Allah's going to ask them, you do yours and leave the others as well. So yes, at some point I believe, yes, sometimes we need to focus on our responsibility rather than trying to know other people's responsibilities. Yes. Yes.
Assalamu
Bye.
My question is a little strange.
Okay.
We learn about a lot of things, and sometimes we learn about them after the best time has passed. I mean, let's take the case of marriage. I mean, after they've been married for some years, and then they learn, oh, they should have done this before, and it happens in a lot of stages of life. What becomes the responsibility of the person in this? I'm talking on both sides, man and woman. When something like this happens and they say, oh, they've been doing something very wrong and this is how they should be corrected. What happens? And sometimes mistakes have been made which cannot be, there can be no reparation and nothing can be done about it. One of the things that Sayyid Abbas said about, of course, the same concept that we are talking about, at the beginning there is a counseling. Many of our ulama and the old-timers, they said, okay, do you know your tawheed before you get married? Do you know what is a right of yours? They usually said no. And I'll tell you, this is a Iranian culture that I would like to explain to you. They put up a sofra aqd, which is a tablecloth. They put in that one Quran. If you have any problem, what are you going to do? Go to Quran, because according to Quran, you are actually getting married. So you have Quran. The candlelight, see with the light of Allah in there. And they put a mirror in there. They say any problem that you think between you are, go look at the mirror. Don't look at the other side. So based on whatever that, of course, it was explained, usually before we go into the institution of marriage, we don't look at the areas of that one. That is a huge responsibility, especially when the children are involved. Don't tear up the children to two pieces. And many of our problem is that they, sometimes of course the parents are having a little difficulties and they come, you probably meet them. And the children is sitting over there is so upset. And he says, why, for example, he's making his bed wet. I said, it's because of the problem that you created among them for him. And all of this. Of course, like I said, the best part of our life is before you fall in, before you go to swimming, learn how to swim, then jump into the pool. Otherwise, you're going to drown. That is probably what I could.
Yes, in addition to what Imam just added, is that when we make some mistakes during the marriage, those mistakes that cannot be taken back, we are not responsible. It already happened. As long as we cannot change, and it happened because we don't know, one, Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah will not punish you for that mistake. Because you don't know. رَبَّنَا لَا تُؤَاخِذْنَا إِن نَسِينَا أَوْ أَخْطَأْنَا. We have that in the Quran. And the other one in the Hadith, رُفِعَ عَنْ أُمَّتِي سَبْعَ. There's 4 things. If my ummah, any one of them commit them, they are forgiven. One of them, مَا لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Whatever they do out of lack of knowledge, Allah is not going to punish them for that. That is, if the things that happen is something that we cannot change. But if there are things that happen that, yes, it is still happening, but I can change it, then one should change it immediately as I found out. And start and hope for the best from that time and was, inshallah. Had your answer?
I was just going to ask you a quick question, Sheikh. Islam being the most, fair religion, right? So I guess it's difficult, and mashallah, the rights of, as you just explained to it, and they're just limited, and with a lot of other rights as well. So I guess the question number one is, with all of these rights for wives and spouses, when you start having children in the family, does that changes? Because I know there's the rights of children over parents and the rights of parents over children, what have you. But specifically, does the rights of the wives, does that change when you have children? That's number one. The other question is just thinking through the times of imams, right? Back then, there used to be 4, 5, 6 wives. How was it even possible for men, seriously, to stay on the deen of Islam and expect to sort of follow the rights of what? Wives, having so many of them? Was that even done? Was it? Islam is a religion where if it's not logic, it's not religion. If Islam, right? It has to be implemented in your daily lives. Those things, were they implemented? And the history tells us that the men had the capacity to implement these rights with more than one wife.
Good one. Next week's topic.
For me, I have only one wife. But allow me to say the first part. The right of the woman when the child is born? When the child is born, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, he becomes ummah. Al-jannatu tahta aqwam al-ummahat. Then the paradise is under the feet of the mothers, not the fathers. So that is the value of the woman, first of all. Their responsibility is that a child is a trust from Allah on your arm. What are you going to do with that child? Is that child going to be the child that in future is a help to the society and Islam? Or is it something that you are going to bring into the society that it is disaster to the society? Is the child on the path of Imam Mahdi or against Imam Mahdi? So that's the value of the woman first. So a wife has to go ahead and, of course, as you read in the same Risala, the 50 of the whole that it is in that one. One of it is the right of the mother to the child, the right of the child to the mother. And it is a lot into that one, which all of it is set together to bring the best families into our society. So that changes a little bit when the child comes. The second issue is, Allah wants to say that I may add honor and Rasulullah, the 14 Ma'asumin, anything that you want to call him, don't call him Allah. You know that. This is the hadith that we have, right? So, based on that one, our Rasul sallallahu and Al Muhammad, they are anything. خُزَّانِ الْعِلْمِ. You know, you probably know Khazina is one. Mind. Khaza'in is minds. خُزَّانِ الْعِلْمِ. Of course, this is a very superlative, so much that all the knowledge is with them. So, in order to prove that this is the highest degree of the humbleness with the Al-Anmiyat, they say here it is. He has wives that there is so much peace and harmony among them. But with that context, you have to take it into the other consideration of the Quran, which is my humble opinion. If the Sheikh disagrees, I think he might be. Anyway, it's all right. Sometimes you have to, of course, you don't have. If you look at the Quran, it talks about Yatam in Surah of Nisa. Then, Allah talks about the Yatama, if you have, there are some orphans in the society. He doesn't have father, he doesn't have mother only. So you bring the orphan into the house and bring the mother too. Don't say, he is an orphan, he doesn't have a father, so get rid of the mother too. So no, we want somehow. And then she has to be mahram somehow. So this is a concept that if you are allowed to. But if the first wife says no, then you have to go ahead and stick to one fawahid. So that is how I can come up. Patch it up if I have to go ahead and...
No question.
One question.
Okay.
This is in regards to kids. Is how true is Islamically that
Could you hold on your question until he patch up whatever that I have to
In the first question regarding whether the rules of the rights of women or a man changes when there are children involved, I said there are two kinds of rules. Some of them, yes, they do change when the children are involved. But some of them, they stay as they are, they don't change. So depending on which rule we're talking. Sometimes it might change, and sometimes it might not change. That is that. In terms of the second question, which is Islam talks about having more than one wife. First of all, let me say that Islam in general discourages more than one wife. Islam discourages. And I believe the Aql discourages too. And I'll tell you why. And I always say this, when you traveling outside the country, they only give you 2 bags. Right? 2 bags. If you say, I'm going to take 20 bags, those will bring it on. We are not going to say no. You bring it. But whose pocket is going to be loose? Your pocket? You have to pay the price, right? We take anything that you want to take, you're going to bring, but at the end of the day, who's going to feel the weight? You are the one who's going to feel the weight. Islam tells you that, yes, in certain situations, if one wants to marry 1 or 2, it says you can, but the best thing is to marry 1. And you look, really, the smartest people in the world, they always married 1. I'll tell you that. Now somebody said, what about the Prophet? Right? Prophet more than 1. The Prophet was asked and forced by Allah to do so. Otherwise, when the Prophet had Khadijah, he never married anybody. Right? Every woman that the Prophet was married to after Khadijah was a request from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now listen to the Quran in Surah Al-Isra, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَمَّا قَضَى زَيْدًا مِنْهَا وَتَرًا زَوَّجْنَاكَهَا. We married her to you. The Prophet didn't want to, but he was asked by Allah to take it. So he took it in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then also another ayah, وَامْرَأَةً مُؤْمِنَةً وَهَبَتْ نَفْسَهَا لِلنَّبِيِّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ask her to marry. And remember, every one of those women, according to the Quran, لَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ. Every marriage that you went through, it was ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am sure if he was to be left alone with his will, he would have taken only 1. Last thing I said, if you want to live long, Just take two. But if you want to die so quick, you take as much.
My question is regarding the kids, the upbringing of the kids. How true is the statement Islamically that the man in the marriage is supposed to be just bringing the money for the upbringing of the kids, whereas the woman is supposed to be the one who is responsible for the akhlaqiyya, the tarbiyah of the child? So what does Islam say about this statement, generally accepted in society?
But it is actually, as he mentioned it before, it's all of the women, it is the right of the woman before she marries. All of your right is there. Everything that you want before man, the poor man has to say, "Laberto." You know, we have no other choice. I accepted it. All the needs, all the things, it is said by the women. So if that's a part of it, okay. The man has to agree with it too. Like the way that he put it out. Of course, he says, like, for example, if you have a child and he says, give me $200 every time that you want me to feed your baby. If it is written down in that dowry, in that contract, that's what you're supposed to do. So that is, I think, it is a right of the individual between them before they get married. The rest of it is...
In terms of the upbringing of a child in the family, is the responsibility of how to raise a child is for both mother and the father. However, the one who is more responsible is a man, not a woman. A woman is responsible at some point, but the one who is main responsible for everything about how to bring the child, how to raise the child, is the responsibility of the man. Now listen to the Quran. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, those of you who believe, protect yourself and your families, which is man, himself, and his wife, and the children. Which means it's my responsibility as a man. Now, when you come to hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he talks about the responsibility, he mentioned that يجب للولد على أبيه حق ثلاث. Every child has a responsibility upon his father. Number one is أن يختار لولده أما نجيبا. It's a child's right upon the father to make sure that he chooses a good spouse for him. That's number one. Number two is أن يحسن اسمه. When the child is born, to find a good name for him. That's the responsibility of a father. Number three is وَأَنْ يُعَلِّمَهُ الْقُرْآنِ. Some hadith, وَأَنْ يُعَلِّمَهُ السِّبَاحَ وَأَنْ يُحْسِنَ أَخْلَاقًا. So all these are the responsibility of a man to begin with. But yes, a woman also can help also in upbringing of the child. But the main one is the man. Yes.
My question is about, you mentioned that the wife can charge her husband for giving the milk to the baby. So now, when you do perform services, you get paid for them, right? So that means the wife is performing service for the man. So she is getting the money for something she's doing for her spouse. So that means the man has more right on that child than the wife. I mean, the implication is that the man has more right because he's giving money to his wife to feed his child. If it was, the woman's, the equal right, then why she had to perform something for somebody, because it's her own child, but she is doing that for her husband. So one thing. And the other thing is that when the father dies, it is the responsibility of the eldest son to perform his, the namazes that were qaza. But he's not obliged to do that or to do his for his mother. The same way, it's not the responsibility of the eldest girl to perform the namaz for her mother. So doesn't it give them more right to the man rather than a woman?
Yeah. Good question, sister. I don't know, do I need to repeat the question or the question is
I think, yeah, please.
Okay. The question is, in Islam, as we mentioned, that a man can be charged by the wife when it comes to breastfeeding of her own child. That a woman can say to her husband, I want this amount of money for breastfeeding my own son. So, doesn't it give more right to a man, to the child, that the man has more right to the child than the woman, who is also happen to be also as equal partner in having the child? That is one. Number two, in terms of also charging a man about the expenses of the house, about the working in the house, that also gives a man that right to the being ownership to the house more than the woman. The answer is no, it doesn't. In terms of the house, it doesn't matter how much you charge it. Like I clean, I want $50. I do laundry, I want $150. Yes, you can do that. And Quran still said, you're still in charge of the house. Now listen to the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن. Allah. The house that a man rented or bought and he's paying the mortgage, Quran said that house belongs to her. That she's in charge of the house. So even though she might be taking that money, but that right is not taken. She still has the right on the house. She is the leader of the house, and the house belongs to her too, according to the Quran. Now, in terms of the child, yes, the husband and the wife, they both have the right towards the child equal. Like Imam Zayn al-Abidin mentioned in Risalat al-Huquq, that the child has the right towards the mother, and he has the right towards the father. And the right that the mother has on the child is even more than the child, than the husband. Now you listen to the Prophet, when the man came to Ya Rasulullah, who do I have right upon me? Who has more right upon me after Allah? He said, your mother. Summa man, your mother. Summa man, your mother. 3 times. Then whom? He said, then your father. So even though you can still charge, but you still have that right, that doesn't take the right away from the mother. Yes, when it comes to who the child is ascribed to, yes, Islam said that the child goes or is ascribed to the father. And that is, you can see even in America here, non-Muslims do the same thing. Always the child takes the last name of the father. But in terms of who have the bigger right upon the child, the mother has more than the husband, even though she can still charge him. So that doesn't take her right away, even if he did spend on her that much.
Ajay, are you saying that we only get relief when we die?
I'm afraid that's what it is.
Can we have this prepared document with each and every point? Because most of the time, it's not necessarily men abuses women, sometimes women abuses women, like daughter-in-law, and they said no. Can you see in Nahjul Balagha that Hazrat Ali was against women? They use the term scorpion and some other thing. So can we have this document so at the time of nikah, we can use that document even for rights of men or women, but sometimes we misuse, women misuse all these things, and sometimes they refuse to take care of life, even with ethical things. So can we have this document prepared? Not for me.
It'll be on YouTube. So it'll be documented. You can get.
No, of course, that right is there. You know, that right can be there, and we can provide that. There's no problem. And I'll be honest with you, this is a drop out of the ocean of the right. When I counted them, the right of the women in Islam is almost over 100. Just for sisters. Okay, I just started this as a token because I don't want the brothers to run away. So that's why I just give a lot of. But when you come home, there is a lot to that. And there is nothing wrong to provide this at the time of marriage, inshallah.
Sheikh, one quick point. This makes a lot of sense to me.
Last question.
It does. but I'm just going a little bit in the essence of this. Is it because perhaps Islam needed to see or needed to have Sayyida Fatima? Is that where this essence of the dignified stature of women that has been bestowed on? Is it because of Sayyida Fatima? Is that where the mantiq comes in, or is it just how did that happen? Why is it so crucial for women in Islam to have such a dignified rights? Is there a connection to Sayyida Fatima in somewhere or manner? I'm just thinking through it. I don't know.
Thought, it's a beautiful thought. Maybe so. Inshallah.
I don't know.
Because
Has to be.
Kawthar is Fatima to Zahra Salamullah.
Jazakallah.
With that, I think we'll conclude.
You have a question?
No, I don't have a question.
After
Salat time is here.
Ajiaba will be here after prayer, so we can
So
have a
yeah,
question answer
it's like
session.
1 minute
Yeah,
left
one
for
more
Salat.
time.
Oh, yeah, one more.
7:53.
One last question.
But we have a lot of singles today, so alhamdulillah.
They change their mind anyway after this.
The singles can sit with Sheikh Jalil and eat and ask their questions. After Salat. Go ahead.
Make a small comment over here. Because sisters have to follow the path of Hazrat Fatima Zahra and Hazrat Zainab Salawatullah alayhi salam, all these rights are given to us and all these responsibilities are for us. To expect, the rights have been given, but on the same note, if we expect that the husband will also be able to provide, go out and work and provide for the house and work outside, and although it's not his right, although she does not have the obligation to do tarbiyat of the child, if the woman does not foresee that 24/7, we are going to lose the children. So the women, I'm a sister myself and my sisters, they should not for a moment think that they can put the responsibility of their children going astray. Oh, it was my husband's job, he didn't do it right, so hey, it's not my responsibility. No, it's going to come and bite you. So the husband is provider. At the same time, sisters have the huge responsibility, and we just need to look at what Hazrat Fatima did and Hazrat Zainab did. Heaven does not come into the feet of the mother just by keeping the baby 9 months and giving it birth, and okay, now I'm going to charge you to nurse, and I'm going to charge you to every time I teach a child to sit down properly or eat properly. You know, it's not going to work that way. Everything has a price. Heaven has its price, and one must understand that we have been given all these rights. At the same time, we have to look at the lives of what Hazrat Fatima did and what Hazrat Zainab did, and then follow that, rather than, coming up with, this is protection Islam provided because of the time when women had no rights. And even now women don't have any rights. So this is a safety net for us. It does not mean that this is, we should start charging our husbands and expect them to work all day and come home and then do the cooking and the cleaning and take care of the children. So that's not going to work. If anybody at the time of marriage gets this message, then we're going to be adding 65% to